about them, and I want to just get the notice that it's recording. Cool. But yeah, just I don't know, I loved drums, and so did my brother, and we just kind of both naturally fell into this rhythm of when we were young teenagers. I was 15 and he was 16. He started to refurbish drums. Like, he would take apart the drum kits that we had as kids, and he would like spray paint them and things like that. And I just got really into that kind of like aesthetically driven, just creative momentum of like, oh, like my drums don't have to be black. And had him make me a drum kit. I started to go on tour with the band I was in at the time, and was really lucky. We got signed to a label and like went on a bunch of really, really cool tours. And I was like sneaking into the Vans Warped Tour and just networking and talking to drummers because I loved it. I just was purely doing it because I loved it, which still glad to say that I still am in the same mindset today at 36. But like, that was really it. It was just, we loved drums. I loved being in the industry without knowing I was even in the industry or like building a business, and just kept doing it.
That's awesome. And I mean, following up on that a little bit, do you remember if there was a particular kit that you can like remember in your head, or that you played or owned, that was like the moment where you went, yep, this is what I'm going to spend my life doing?
Yeah, actually, oddly enough, it wasn't an SJC kit. Like I had a Pearl kit when I had a Percussion Plus kit that my parents got me from like the Sears catalog back when I was 9. That was like 1994. And so pre-internet and all that. And then I, got a Pearl drum set a few years after that. All of them. Like, I just remember I got the first kit for Christmas, and I just remember coming down in my parents' where I lived, the living room, and like seeing that drum set set up. Like, that moment, I was like, I'm gonna do this forever. Like, I love the drums. That is so sick. Like, I just was so drawn to it without even knowing how to play. So then I had a Pearl kit, and then was really, really intensely in love with this company out of California called Orange County that Travis Barker plays now. And just they were like the kings of like really doing custom drums, and I was very heavily inspired by what they were doing, the California like West Coast aesthetic, and what they were doing with drums and the drummers that played them. And I love 311. They're my favorite band. Chad Sexton's like one of my heroes as a drummer. And yeah, just seeing like those drums were really, really cool to me. I was like, I didn't know anything like that could exist before, and seeing that it could kind of opened my eyes to the potential of like, maybe I could do that too. And just kind of naturally fell into that path.
Awesome. Well, throughout such a successful career so far with SJC, among many accomplishments, you also managed to snag, obviously, Josh Dunn from 21 Pilots. And I think all of us listening have kind of heard Josh talk about in many scenarios how he was hesitant to endorse a brand on stage before he was confident and he settled with SJC Drums. So what's the SJC side to that story when it came to winning him over?
Yeah, actually, honestly, like all the, I guess, bigger drummers, guys that are out there touring and being like heavy influencers like Josh and Trey from Green Day, as you mentioned earlier, all those relationships started very organically. Like I've always gone about business and the things that I do on the artist relations side in the most organic way that I can. And or I won't do it at all. Like nothing so far has felt forced to me. And if it has, I just don't really pursue it. And it was that with Josh. Like I was hanging out with a mutual friend. His name is Rico, and he was teching for a really cool pop punk band called Forever the Sickest Kids out of Texas. I think they're playing a couple festivals in Texas this year, but they broke up a couple years ago, sadly. But love that band. The drummer Kyle played SJC, and he was always really getting wacky drum sets and had a really cool thing with that band. And they played Gillette Stadium here in Massachusetts many years ago, and I went out to see them, because I was like, dang, I get to see my friends Kyle and Rico and the band, and they're playing like before a Patriots game. I get to go to the game and watch the game with them. And we were hanging out after, and Rico was just like, hey man, like there's this band from Ohio called 21 Pilots, and they seem like they're gaining some traction. And Josh is a really cool drummer. He's like got a really cool style, and I think he'd be, you know, a cool addition in the SJC team. So, you know, would love to see if you'd you know, want to talk to him. I was like, yeah, for sure. I think it was like 1 a.m, and he was like, let's just call him now. So we called him, and Josh picked up, and we just had a chat, and Josh was like, that sounds kind of cool. Let's talk. And we ultimately then got on the phone together when it wasn't the middle of the night, and designed his first kit, which was the blue acrylic kit we made him for a big festival they were playing in Ohio. And then from there, it was just kind of, you know, we were friends right off the bat, like just drum nerds together, loving talking about drums and designs. And we had, I think, a similar upbringing and creative vision for what drums could be. And we just kind of hit it off. Met for the first time at one of their shows here in Massachusetts, and obviously designed and built many drums since then.
Awesome. Talking about wacky kits and all that, Josh's kits throughout your partnership have become increasingly complex, from that first standard kit to all custom wraps, multiple stage kits, snares, and all that. Has there ever been a design the team has brought up to you that that has been canceled or was too much to work with?
No, actually, his team's always been incredible. Like, they obviously have a really great team alongside of them, designing the albums and the aesthetics and the colorways and things like that. And it's always been really super fun and easy to work with Josh and his team, of like, hey, this is it, kind of go nuts. They'll give us the you know, they'll give us all the assets and the files of whatever it may be, the album or the you know, whatever the stage is going to look like and things like that. And we'll just kind of work internally to design it on a drum. And it's just from there, like back and forth with Josh and his team of like, hey, do this and maybe change that up a little bit, or what size should I do? We always mess around with different types of wood, trying to add some auxiliary drums in there for the, you know, the different sounds that they have on the different records as they've, you know, progressed and things like that. So we've never scrapped anything, never had to say no. It's always just an evolution of a very basic idea from the get-go.
Well, that sounds like a really nice partnership to have.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm actually going to have Josh pop in right now, if that's cool with you guys. If you know, I thought it'd be cool to have him come in and talk about that a little bit.
Really? That sounds great. Let's get him in here.
Cool. All right, just give me a second. I sent him the Zoom info. See, hopefully this goes off without a hitch. Give it a sec. But no, it's cool. It's always super fun. I always love, like I'm sure a lot of the people listening here, being fans of the band, and Josh as a drummer, loves seeing and anticipating what the next colorway and the next kind of like aesthetic's going to look like. You know, it's really fun.
Oh, here we go.
There he is.
All right, you're on audio, Josh. I think you just got to click the bottom to there's like a little start video. There you are. What's up?
Got
dude?
it.
You got it.
What's
Hey,
up?
Josh, what's up?
Hi guys.
Thanks for
How's it
being here,
going?
man.
I'm trying to see everybody. I just see. There we go.
There.
What's up, dude?
What's up? Hi, Mike.
How are you? We're just talking about designing your drums, and they asked me if there's ever been anything that we scrapped or just didn't do, and I said no. It's always an evolution of a basic idea that you and I have, and then fundamentals of like, hey, let's add an auxiliary drum or whatever, and then we get the artwork and we kind of mock up and just tag team with you and your team from there. So I thought it'd be cool to have you pop in and talk a little bit about what that kind of interaction looks like and what drives your ultimate decision on what we end up building you.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think this is cool that you guys are all here and talking about drums. First of all, I think that's sweet. Man, we've made some really cool drum sets, and I think that we continue to, and I think that from the very, I mean, even before I met Mike, kind of like seeing and knowing and sort of like taking in what SJC does, I was always kind of drawn to it because it was just like, whoa, there's stuff that I've never even thought of that can be included in a drum set, or you know, can create this type of sound live. And that was always a huge draw to Mike and what they do for me. And then when we met, we kind of like talked about drums, and I was just like, man, I feel like I like things that are unique and individual, and kind of I think like as a drummer, that's your voice on stage, and that's the way that you can express your personality. And there's a lot of you expressing your personality through the way that you play the drums, but the drums themselves are an extension of you in a way. And so it's just kind of like growing up and getting into drums and seeing a bunch of different drummers that I felt like maybe didn't express themselves fully, and would kind of just, for me, I was like, I guess there's a reason why they're just on the back of the stage and kind of hidden behind everyone else, because they don't really do much. And then the drum kit often reflected that energy and that personality, and so I was kind of always just like, man, I like hitting drums as hard as I can, and having some sounds that are unique or different sounding, and kind of experimenting with those sounds and finding them. And so I think that Mike was just has always been right on board with that, and a lot of times will even pitch ideas that I never thought of. And so like the ballad snare, I think for example, it was one that Mike was over at my house listening to some of the songs off of. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Some songs from Trench, and was kind of like, what if we did like a secondary snare that's just like, it's kind of just much deeper and just very much like there aren't as many uses for it, but the uses that you do get from them will be very intentional and very specific. And then we kind of had conversations on that, and then I kind of walked through the set list and was like, what songs would I use this for? And then kind of mapped it out, and I was like, that makes sense. Let's do that. And so a lot of times it is a conversation of like, hey, what about something like this? Do you think that would be cool? From Mike. And then I'm visualizing it, and then I'm figuring out where and how that would be implemented or utilized. And then a lot of times it's just like, well, yeah, why wouldn't we do that? That sounds awesome. And then there's other things like, right now I'm working on kind of like getting a studio up and going at my house in Columbus. And Mike and I are having conversations on like, hey, let's fully just get a studio drum set dialed in. And maybe it's, you send me a sample of a rack tom that you really like, and then a floor tom that you like, and we can kind of like piece this thing together to make a drum kit that is kind of perfect for that scenario. So I don't know if that really answers that question, but I feel like it's really cool, and it's really collaborative, and Mike is also the type of guy that is kind of around, like up and around all hours of the day and night. And so I'll think of something and call him, and more often than not, it's a very last second request that is, hey, I need a drum set for this thing, and then he makes it happen every time. And so it's a really cool relationship, Mike. I'm thankful for you and our collaboration, and I couldn't imagine working with anyone else.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks, man. Same. We've done a lot of really cool stuff, and it pushes us and the team here to the limit, and super thankful. Obviously, we've done a lot of cool stuff together, and we've got a great team here in Massachusetts building the drums. I'm the shot caller. I get the call from Josh. Like, all right, let's go. I send a message. Hey guys, you got 6 days. 3 drum kits. But no, it's cool. So does that
Yeah.
answer? You guys have any questions for Josh while he popped in? I know we're kind of hijacking this, but I thought it'd be cool to have Josh.
Kind of
say what's
wasn't
up.
prepared for this, so kind of don't know. I'm caught
No,
off
I
guard.
think everyone agrees this was a really awesome surprise. And we were all saying before Josh popped in, it seems like a really great partnership. And as soon as Josh started talking about, all the years of working with you, everyone was just saying you guys are so good together and you have such a good ping with each other. It's very obvious why you guys are working with each other. So I think it will be interesting to ask between the two of you, do you each have a different favorite drum kit from all the eras and all the tours you've done so far?
Whoa.
Do you, Mike?
Friendship now.
Gosh, man. I mean, they're all, it's, I've been asked that question a lot through my career of like building drums, and it's really hard because they're all like babies of mine that like I've been part of at the very, elementary level of like designing and seeing them come to completion, literally watching them be born in the factory and getting my hands on them. And I'll usually assemble some of Josh's stuff too, just so I'm part of it, making sure that we hit and achieve the sound and the look that we're going for. So it is really hard. Obviously, that's kind of like the cliche answer of like, I can't pick one. They're all my favorite. But I think the hybrid grip tape kit that we built, Josh, is one of my favorites for a couple reasons. One, Josh played it on the MTV VMAs, which was such a cool achievement. I know obviously for Josh, but for me too, like that's where SJC was born, like Panic at the Disco playing the VMAs back in like 2004, seeing a drum set that I was so passionate about building on TV on such a large scale is really cool. And it hasn't happened a lot. So seeing Josh play that kit on the MTV VMAs is like a very humble, proud moment for me, like to see our drums, but also to see Josh, like, that was a huge moment for you guys, Josh. And that was really cool. But also that drum fell apart. Like that drum, hybrid drums are really hard to build. And you're literally cutting a pretty complex rabbet joint to merge wood and acrylic together. And Josh is playing a show and the rack tom literally fell apart. Like the drums broke. And Josh and his team like gorilla glued it and like put it back together, and the gorilla glue expanded and just looked insane. And it's a testament to Josh and like his belief and faith in the company, but also you as a person, where I feel like a lot of drummers would have at that point been like, yo, I'm out of here. Like I can't play drums that are falling apart. But Josh's like, no worries, dude. Like just send me a black kit and I'll keep touring on it. It's all good. And I have that kit stacked up in the factory where I'm like, I see it all the time. And it's, for me learning and growing SJC for so many years, it's just really cool to have people like that, that believe in the company, even in the midst of things like that going wrong during a show. So that's got to be my favorite kit that we've done together for sure.
That's cool. Yeah. I remember exactly when that rack tom came apart. And I think that for me, it was just like my thought process there was like, what other drum company would do something like this and put together, like 2 or 3 different types of material. And it was just completely experimental and something that isn't very common. And I think with that, comes kind of like some of the unknown and trial and error within those decisions. But I think that for me, it just kind of always proved that you guys were fearless to try different things and try things that you maybe haven't seen before, or there hasn't been enough, play time on these types of kits. But to me, I felt like that was worth it. It's, you can always go with like a tried and true and kind of a proven sort of roadworthy type of instrument. But when you decide to do something that is a little bit more left of center and artistic and different, then you run the risk of things like that happening, and then you learn and you adapt from there. And I think you've built drums like that since then, and I think learned what to do to make that work.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's huge, and that's kind of how I looked at that. I think that's one of my favorite kits too, and I think also just the spooky kit, the blurry face era kit that we did, I think was kind of like really one that we like, one that, I mean, I guess to your point of kind of a landmark, moment of that grip tape being used. That kit for me was kind of like a first of many. There was a lot of it was like our first arena tour that we played with that kit, and kind of really, I think that album changed our career and changed our lives, and that drum set was along for the ride, and that was a part of it. And I think it's it's got some nostalgia for that, and I mean, the kit's been around the world, and it was a blast kind of working with you on that one. And also, I think another thing about you guys that I love is that I'll kind of like throw out an idea sometimes, or a design, and I feel like I try to be really good about saying, hey, is this like too far-fetched, or is this too much work? How much is required with that? And you're always just like, it's all good. No, that's no problem at all. And then the thing gets done, and you're like, my guy just spent 60 hours hand cutting out each little skull and alien on that wrap. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me that? I like, we could have done something else, and you were just like, I wanted it to be totally right and look as good as it possibly could. And when we got the vision in our head, this was the only way that we saw it being done, and that's the way that we wanted to do it. And so that was kind of an example for me where it's just like, that's it is quality all the way, and it's I know that you're a perfectionist, and so for you and your team to kind of take that time to get all that stuff right, and really take the extra time to really dial that in, for me, that element wasn't lost on me, and it turned out amazing.
Heck yeah. Super cool. I think I have to correct myself, and I don't know if anybody did. I don't know. I can't read what people are saying at all, but I'm pretty sure on the VMAs you played the red acrylic kit with the skulls on it. I got those kind of mixed up because it was like same era. You had both of those kit, one you were like leapfrogging them. So I don't know if you actually did use the hybrid kit on the VMAs, but regardless, that is still,
I think you're right. Yeah, it was the red one. The grip tape one, wait, I think we did VMAs twice, and I think I did the grip tape one on the first one, and the red.
Yeah.
The first time we did VMAs. Yeah.
Cool. Still my favorite.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the first time we did the VMAs, and I might be wrong too. I'll have to go on YouTube and double check on that. But I'm pretty positive the first time we did VMAs, it was that one. I think it was for Car Radio. We played that song.
Yeah. Dope. All right, well, cool. Well, thanks for hanging, man.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys wanted to ask while Josh is here? We can do one more.
Real quick, and obviously not to sideline you at all, Mike, but
okay,
we'll quickly just rapid fire some things at you, Josh. Most of this is lighthearted, so don't feel like you have to answer because we know you probably can't. Where's this outside music video?
I guess my answer on that is that we, a lot of times we just there's a lot of work that goes into music videos, and really kind of a lot of the stuff that we do, which is why we kind of become less and less vocal about things that we're in the process of working on, because it just takes a while, and then people ask about it. So this one we talked about ahead of time, which is, we don't do as much. A lot of times once it's ready, we'll start talking about it. It's not really taken any longer than any other video, but the difference is that I guess we told you about it too soon. So it's we shot it, and there's just some work to be done post shoot, and it'll be, it should be done pretty soon, but we're still working on it.
Right. All right. I'll hit you with the last two questions. The question I really want to know is, Josh, you can tell us, you can be honest with us. Are you in Dema right now?
Wow, that's a great question. Is that lighthearted is my question to you.
Sorry?
I said, my question to you is that actually lighthearted?
I mean, we can get real if you want to. It's because obviously Dema and its implications, it could be taken from a law perspective or from a mentality.
That's very true. I'm going to say no.
That's really good to hear. And I think everyone's going to be really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And lastly, I don't want to overstep at all, but we are getting spammed in the chat and everyone would really like us to ask. We would love you to pop on Twitter, and people would love you to just see the situation going on right now. It's all over Twitter. Yeah, like I said, don't want to overstep that, but we cannot ignore all these messages in the chat. Everyone wants you to see what's going on over on Twitter with the clique.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Go check out.
Thanks, sir. I think everyone's really going to appreciate you saying that.
I genuinely don't get on Twitter that much anymore. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I feel like Twitter, more than anything, in my experience, can be filled with, darkness, hate. People are a little more fearless to be rude or mean, and I'm not a fan of that. And honestly, it's discouraging, and I think, I've seen a fair share of hateful messages on Twitter that for some reason doesn't quite exist on other platforms. I'm not really sure what that is or what that's about, but it's just not something that I guess or we as a band stand for. I think that since the beginning of us being in a band, we've really, I think we've been promoted kind of acceptance and in a place of, especially in concerts, a place of unity and inclusion, and that, and that's kind of just being nice to people. I think that's what it's about. And I think people tearing other people down, we don't really have space for that. We don't have room or time for that. And that's not what we're about, what we've ever been about. And I think it's part of the reason that I kind of tend to step back from Twitter. I kind of jumped on Twitter a little bit more during our last tour. And I literally just got on and told people what I was eating for the day. And because it's just, and then I kind of just got off there. It can be a dark place, and I'll go on and kind of look at some of that stuff, but it can get to me too. And if I look at too much darkness or hatred, then I start to get bummed out too. So I get it, but I'll take a look.
No, thank you so much for saying that. And like I said, I didn't want to ambush you there, but thank you for commenting on that. And I know that means a lot to a lot of people. And we truly do hope that you'll be all good with that. Yeah,
definitely. Thanks for letting me into your Zoom. And it's cool to talk about drums. And Mike, thanks for inviting me as well. And any other questions you have for him? He's a genius with drums, and I'm thankful for friendship and our collaboration, and it's been a cool journey.
Heck yeah, sure has. And thanks, while Josh is here for one more second, like thanks to everybody. If anybody here has purchased any of the Josh signature stuff, it's been really cool designing that and working with Josh on that. And it's such a cool thing to see Josh influence so many young drummers that want to pick up the drumsticks. It's very cool, for both of us as picked up drumsticks before we were teenagers, to be able to provide the instruments and the drums and the products, and for Josh to influence so many of you. It's really, really cool. So thanks. But Josh, thanks for hanging and talking shop with me, man. It's been cool seeing you, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon, and we'll do it again.
Yeah,
not the Zoom, but we'll design some more drums.
yeah.
Thanks for coming, man.
All right, man. Have a good night, dude.
Appreciate it, Josh.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Josh. See ya.
See ya.
Wow, what a treat for the audience.
There's your treat for the evening, buddy. That was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And like I said, we didn't want to sideline you there.
Oh, dude, that's what I wanted to make happen, man. I know Josh doesn't talk just about drums a lot, so I wanted to make that happen. So I appreciate you guys, steering left pretty quick and diverting and doing that to allow him to pop in. So thank you.
Bit of quick thinking.
Always be on your feet. Your
So,
toes.
Skip, I think you've got a great question to ask Mike.
Okay, yeah. So outside of your hands-on relationships with the bands that you have worked with, who was the first person or group to come through and use SJC on stage where you thought we finally made it?
That's great. So couple bands actually. Like the first one for me, many may not know the band, but I'm a pretty like diehard punk rock fan, and this one of my favorite bands is called Strike Anywhere. Really cool, just punk rock band from Richmond, Virginia. I grew up listening to those guys and going and seeing them at like VFW halls and things like that. And Eric Kane is the drummer, and he's listening to Strike Anywhere records is really where I, as a drummer, learned how to play like the fast punk rock beat. And making Eric a drum set, I was in my college dorm room, shot him an email, and he emailed me right back and was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's build and design a kit together. And we built him a really nice, basic black sparkle kit. My brother and I drove home from college one weekend, built it in grandma's basement, and I went to New Jersey the next day and delivered it to him at a VFW hall. And he played it, and I just remember just like watching them play for the first time live. I had never seen them live, and seeing him play an SJC kit, I was like 17, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And that was definitely like a big milestone. But the next big one was Panic at the Disco, as I mentioned, seeing them on the VMAs in like 2004, 2006, I think it was. And then the next big one, and I've yet to really top this one, but seeing Elton John and Lady Gaga play together at the Grammys probably like 10 years ago or so, maybe even longer. And the drummer for Lady Gaga was playing SJC, and like you could just see the SJC logo over Elton John's shoulder. And I didn't even know that was going to happen. And I was watching the Grammys with my grandma, and we saw it, and she was like, "Isn't that your drums?" And I was like, "Holy crap!" And so those three for me, like bar none, just really cool lifetime, like check, milestones for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned Panic at the Disco playing that kit in 2004. And I remember I went to see Panic at the Disco on tour, and I saw the SJC logo. And there's just so many times where I'll see an artist and I go, wow, and SJC did this and they did that. Yeah. And they're working with all these artists. At what point do you turn around and go, wow, someone pinched me, like this is my life?
Yeah. No, I do it all the time for sure. I mean, every day, like when I walk through the factory and see the cool creations that we're building, even if they're for, like a not huge band, if you will, I'm just so excited and appreciative of people supporting our brand and what we do. But yeah, no, I'm very lucky. I've definitely done that a lot where like, Green Day, like, holy crap. Like I remember being 15 years old at a Green Day Blink-182 show and like watching Trey Cool like smash the drums and just think like everybody in the audience is like, how cool would it be to meet that guy? Never thought I would build him a drum set, you know. And then years and years later, you know, I worked my way into his camp, and there I am at his studio, and then like building drums with him. And then he came to my wedding, and like it's just really cool to even more than design and like build the drums and see him on the stages, to become friends with these people and to learn from them and be pushed outside of my comfort zone and to really think outside the box, like what Josh was mentioning. I do it to myself. Like, it's not always the artist doing it to us. It's just my perfectionism wanting to really go outside the box and use that as an opportunity to do something that's never been done in the industry. So it's kind of like tenfold for me, where just all these little check boxes that I can kind of tick off is like, all right, work with really cool bands, you know, influential drummer, design and make influential drums that people will look at and hopefully be inspired to play the drums as well, and then maybe buy a drum set from us. It's so cool. I definitely get to live the dream every day, for sure.
All right. For the next question, since you'd absolutely be the most qualified to give us drumming advice, do you have any go-to pieces of hardware or even accessories for a begin you can recommend for the musically inclined watching this interview? Maybe even a full kit that you think would be ideal for beginner setups.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I appreciate the accolade. I don't know if I am the most qualified, and I will definitely answer this. I appreciate it. I will definitely answer this question though with not my like salesman hat on. So I don't want anybody to think this is like a pitch to sell SJC products. You know, a lot of drummers and a lot of wannabe drummers, and that is to say people that want to play the drums but don't know how to play the drums. I'm not calling them wannabes by any means. Like, literally the pots and pans and the pillow that you can put on your bed, or just playing on your bed, or air drumming. There are apps on your phone now that you can learn like the rudimentary, you know, even the rudiments, like learning the rudiments of, you know, left and right and flams, and the videos that you can see online without even drumsticks. You know, that is a massive step that I definitely didn't have when I was a kid. You know, I literally read a book. There's a book called Syncopation. That book is incredible, and learning how to play that if you're like really serious about playing the drums. Lots of really great platforms like Drumeo, lots of free stuff that you can get out there. Guys like Mike Johnston that put out really amazing educational videos. A lot of great communities. You know, the SJC Facebook community is really awesome, where people can go in there and ask questions about tuning and, you know, what accessories they're using for recording drum covers. Go follow Iggy. He's one of our drummers that plays SJC, very young, up and coming drummer that over the past year I've just seen build like the coolest, most monstrous kit with like the dopest audio gear. And granted, not everybody can do that, but Iggy is a resource for people to go and DM him and be like, yo, what'd you do for this? How'd you do that? There's ways to hack it, right? And I'm definitely not qualified to talk about how to hack making drum videos. I don't know the first thing about all that, but there's amazing communities, especially within the SJC family, to at least talk about those things. You know, if you do want to pick up gear, grabbing an SJC practice pad, an SJC Josh Dunn practice pad, Josh's sticks, those are all cool. We've got some cool beginner product that we've tried to come out with over the years. Like, we have a Pathfinder kit. You know, the Josh Bandito kit that we came out with is a really great entry level price point for drummers. And a lot of drummers, you know, we sold out of those. Every time we brought a container of those over, they were sold out before it even got to, you know, our website or Sweetwater or Guitar Center or anything like that. So a lot of really cool stuff out there in those communities. So, you know, everyone I think should do their own homework on like what product works best for them. But, you know, asking some of the people out there that I just mentioned, and kind of like going through that rabbit hole of like, hey, what do you use? What do you like? Doesn't have to be SJC. So that's like my favorite way of doing it. Like, I used to just scour the drum magazines, and like, this is before the internet. I would look at the drum magazines and be like, it looks like that dude's using this pedal. I'm going to bring this to Guitar Center and ask them like what that is and if they know about it. That I think finding out about products organically on your own, I think is the best way to do it for sure.
I think that's incredible advice to our audience. And also, you know, you mentioned finding things you can be comfortable with. I notice with Josh, and I'm sure you'll agree, he tends to find things he's comfortable with. And then as soon as he seems to get comfortable with that, he'll want to push the boundaries and go and evolve. So given that, I'm sure with the IC tour approaching fast for the band, there's some new stuff they're working on. Can you give us a hint of anything you might be working on for this tour? Maybe there's a new kit or something?
Actually, I can't. Like, Josh and I haven't talked about that. What we're working on right now is the studio kit. And that's, you know, a testament to Josh and his crew. Like, they've just got their stuff locked down, where there isn't always, you know, the last minute stuff he was mentioning was like the fast paced, like video shoots and things like that. Like the Shy Away video was the Baby Blue kit, where like, it was like Saturday at like 3, and he's just like, hey dude, I need a kit like in Florida like next week. And I was like, oh my gosh. And, you know, we're a company that's prepared to do that sort of thing, because we know those things happen, but they seem pretty locked in. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, any last minute changes, but yeah, no, like it's, and that's where I was mentioning, I like to be pushed outside the boundaries and thinking outside the box of like what we can do. And when I was at Josh's studio prior to the Trench record coming out, he was like, yo, stop by. Let's, you know, listen to some of this stuff. I really want to change up my kit. He was thinking about doing some really crazy stuff, like changing up his setup like pretty big time. And that's kind of where I was like, hey, let's just do like a little ballad snare and do a few things like this. So no, it's not always like, you know, earth shattering of like changing up your drums from like a righty setup to a lefty setup kind of thing. It's little incremental changes that you can add. And we did a lot of that on the Trench era, and then kind of locked in what it would be on this new era. And I, you know, from what I can tell so far, everything that he's used on the prior, you know, leg of this tour, he's going to continue to use. He's got a couple of each now. We've definitely, you know, we work a lot with his drum tech, Father John, and we've definitely had a lot of, you know, additions that we've had to do on that last leg. And I think we've locked in a lot of that stuff. So again, not to say that that's not going to be thrown out there, but we're always up for that challenge. And if there was anything secret, I definitely wouldn't be letting the cat out of the bag right now anyway. So
of course,
you'll have to see.
Well, as a musician myself, and my drummer as part of my act, we've been fortunate enough to actually use some SJC kits and products over our shows and whatnot. And I've noticed there's really, to both of us, there's a night and day difference. Seeing how pristine and high quality SJC actually is. Like, you always hear about it, but once you see it, it's a whole nother thing. At this point in your success, how do you motivate yourselves to stay on top and stay that same consistent quality time after time?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's really cool. That's what we strive for every time, no matter what we're doing, putting out social media content, products, you know, everything we want to. I hold it to a high standard. I'm very heavily influenced by other brands. You know, I surround myself with, I've got some amazing mentors that I look up to in other industries and businesses. And I'm always trying to be a better person, better businessman, better creative. And that all just comes with setting expectations for yourself that are in line with what you want to accomplish, whatever that may be, writing music, school, working a job, starting your own company, whatever that may be. And like I said earlier, I'm just really lucky to be surrounded with the artists that we are surrounded by, Josh and Trey and guys like Iggy, that inspire me, seeing them do what they do on social media. So like, I do it for them. I do it for the drummers that play SJC that work really hard to make money to buy a drum set from us and to support us. And I am a perfectionist, like Josh said, and self-admittedly, and I always look back to like 12-year-old Mike of like, really drooling over Orange County drums, or like aspiring to get one of their drums, or be in that circle of what they had going. And when SJC evolved and I was able to create, not on purpose, but just kind of organically create this community of drummers that play our drums and that look up to the drummers that play our drums, and then eventually become the influencers themselves. I owe it to them, and I owe it to 12-year-old Mike. And I've got a really amazing team here in Massachusetts and throughout the world of people that support the brand and are part of everything from how we price our stuff to our supply chain to how we make it, boots on the ground here at our factory in Massachusetts. And everybody shares that same very grassroots, do-it-yourself approach, but that perfectionist, like, we can't ship this out. Like, we all know the level of quality that our customers and our drummers expect. And we don't even really have to talk about it. It's just inside the factory. Everybody shows up every single day and just crushes everything that they can to make the most high quality drums possible, whether it's for, you know, Johnny Smith, who we don't even know who this is for, going to, you know, he's going to go rock that kit in his basement or his garage, to Josh and Trey Cool and those guys. Like, we build the same quality for everybody. And that's just the standard that I've set for myself and for the company since day one. And that will never change.
Now, Mike, we're going to be sharing a link in our server where everybody is currently chilling and listening to this wonderful interview. Everyone can check out the Josh Dunn Signature Series on the SJC Drums website, which we are hopefully now sharing, as well as branch out to look at all your awesome stuff you've worked on. Is there anything in that Josh Dunn catalog you recommend for a must-have 21 Pilots superfan to get?
Oh, well, thanks for doing that. Yeah, the practice pads, I think, are definitely the most accessible. They're like $50. There's two of them. Well, there's only one left. Josh's stuff sells out really quick. You know, his Zildjian sticks, I don't know if those are still on the market to buy, but those are definitely a must-have, you know, especially for those that want to learn how to play the drums. Grab a pair of those, you know, hit your bed and set up a bunch of pillows to mimic a drum set. The practice pads a must-have. You know, we try to develop product that everybody can grab and afford, hopefully, to even if they can't afford a drum set. You know, we do those little side snares that are a couple $100, so that people can grab a piece of what Josh plays. So those are cool if somebody actually wants to buy a drum. The Shy Away kit or the snare drum customizer is fun to just kind of, you know, that customizer is fun to just use and design your ideal Josh snare drum. But, you know, this era specifically, him and I were talking and we're like, hey, let's, you know, if people can't afford a full drum from us with your name on it and your design, let's just do like little tension rod washers. So we came out with like blue, pink, and yellow tension washers, like $20. You can outfit your whole kit to have that colorway. If you want to, you know, pull in the new 21 Pilots colorway. So those are cool. You know, a lot of the product that we launched back on Black Friday sold out. Like, we had those slammer pads that you could get and like put on your drum kit or on your bed or your floor and like, you know, mimic a drum kit with that way. But, you know, there's some stuff left. I think one of the practice pads, we're nearing the end of that life for sure. So I guess if anybody is thinking about getting any of that stuff, I would urge you to grab it now, because the lower price product is definitely nearing the end of its the inventory cycle, and we probably won't bring that stuff back, you know, just yet. So yeah, that's cool. And if anybody has any ideas that they want to see, I'm all ears. Go ahead and shoot us a DM on our Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and let us know what you want to see us build. Always up for creative thinking on what people want to see us do next, for sure, especially when it comes to guys like Josh.
Nice. Well, to bring everything full circle, we really wanted to know personally, after everything, major success, huge endorsements, an incredible gold standard, like we mentioned, is there anywhere for SJC Drums to go now? And what's the goals and inspirations today compared to when you were younger, when you started this from, you know, your childhood home?
Cool. awesome question, and thank you for asking, and thank you for saying that. I definitely, I don't see it that way. I'm just starting. I'm now in my prime of like being a business person, which I didn't have that lens back in the day. And I'm glad it went this way. I, for many, many years, for 2 decades, was just in this kind of mode of like, ignorance is bliss, just say yes to everything and do it. And it built this brand. Like, it built the foundation of this, whatever you want to call it, lifestyle brand, whatever it is. I don't even know. I just worked really hard to build that, and that's there. But I've got a lot of work to do, and we've got a lot of work to do to make us as a company and as a business a lot more efficient and a lot more successful there. And so definitely have achieved a ton, and I couldn't imagine trying to do another 20 years like that. But I mean, just the past year and a half, as the pandemic has been what it is, it's definitely thrown me into the corner of figuring out finally the best way to run this business from a supply chain, from an efficiency standpoint, as far as like how we build the drums, getting the order into our systems and out the door. Lots of kind of boring stuff that I don't know anybody really wants to hear about, but that's what my days consist of now. Obviously, without lots of tours happening. Josh was actually the first one that called me post-pandemic of like, yo, new record, new tour, let's get this going again, which was a breath of fresh air. But I've spent a lot of my time here in my office at home, just strategizing with our general manager at the company, our operations managers, and all the salespeople on how we can make SJC better so we can be more sustainable and start scaling in a way that we've dreamt of, and capitalizing on all those things that success, if you will, that you just mentioned. And lots to do. I spend all my time, from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. for the most part, like strategizing on all of that stuff with the entire team that I have here, boots on the ground. And there's a lot of work to do. And that's really exciting for me because it's a new venture and a new way of looking at the business that I'm really excited to get into. And that's kind of the next thing for me, is like taking this opportunity to build a better foundation internally for the company so that we can then, put that out into the world and have quicker turnaround times and, better pricing and more products and all that good stuff. So doubling down on that for sure is the next, probably the next year at least for me, really being boots on the ground there.
That is awesome.
Well, I think that's probably all the time we're gonna have today. We really appreciate you coming and sitting down with us and just talking about drums and your growth as a company and all that stuff with all the bands you work with and everything. And we just really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on here and supporting, everything that we're about in the music community and delivering all this great content to the fans. So thank you all very much for listening. And if anybody has any other questions, feel free to just hit us up, like I said, on our social media. And we're always down to talk drums. Love them. And that's what we do. So hit us up if anybody has any questions at all. Thank you.
And might I just say, this was following the launch of our server, which was actually only 5 days ago. This
Cool.
is our first interview, and I think you've made it one for the books, and we really appreciate what you did for us today. Really appreciate you being so forward about everything. For everyone listening, obviously go check out SJC Drums. Tons of accessories and full kits. Like Mike mentioned, you can be a mini Josh or you can find your own sound. Thank you again, Mike. This really has been great.
Yeah, of course. Well, congratulations, you guys, on launching everything. And I wish you nothing but success. And always happy to be a resource if you have any questions or want to just get creative on social media. I love talking about that stuff, and thinking outside the box like that, gets my brain outside of the stuff that I just mentioned to you guys, supply chain and things that 15-year-old Mike would have thought was incredibly boring.
Right.
So yeah, congrats again. And thanks for having me on here, and best of luck. Thanks everybody out there, and take care.
Thanks.
Take care.
Cool. Later, guys.
Later.